my mind was as sharp as a razor blade. My body was lean cut. I felt supple yet very strong. I'm still in the gym getting after. So that's another thing. People go,
that's right. Yeah.
Did you take a week off work? No. Yeah. I'm still working every day, hitting the gym every day, doing yoga, big. Snowboarding, hiked a mountain.
Wow. All right, Brody, here we are again, man. Pumped you're here, dude. I'm really excited for this one. We had a good chat the week before, and honestly, it was just good to catch up. And it's just so funny when you have conversations with certain people. I've heard it lots. There's certain conversations, certain people that fill your bucket, and there's certain ones that can drain from you. I mean, obviously there's some that don't do either, but most of the time you can be one or the other. And it was always one. Every time I have a conversation, I always feel like fired up and excited about life. So I'm really happy to have you on here to chat about what's going on in your life. When we spoke before, you were doing a week-long fast. Maybe you don't want to dive into that a little bit, and we'll get started.
Yeah. So coming into the new year, I was just honestly really struggling with my mental health. I prize myself on having all this knowledge, and my ego loves that I know a lot of things about a lot of things, except for that lack of that integration embodiment component, which we talked about a little bit before that. So for me to embody all this stuff, I had to really change the way I was showing up in the world and accept responsibility. And through all that, I just had this breakthrough, I guess you could say, through a meditation experience where I was like, parasites. The word parasites was just booming at me. And I'm like, it's not just like physical parasites, it's mental, emotional, spiritual, multidimensional parasites. I need to go on a cleanse. So since that, I started eating less, being more conscious of my diet. And then I decided I want to do fast. So I went into it and I didn't eat. So the last thing I ate was like Saturday night. And I didn't go into it the best of ways. I had steak dinner and then went into a 7-day fast. Hey, whatever. I made it out alive.
That's right.
But so I go into this fast, and I was going to just do it from like Sunday to Wednesday. And then sometime Tuesday, came out of a meditation. I'm like, we're pulling it all week here.
Wow.
Doing 7 days. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I was waking up. I was mixing my little magic potion of creatine, sea salt, electrolytes, put some cayenne pepper in there, some cinnamon, lemon juice, and that was just what I would run on.
Wow.
I'd make that up, and then I'd have like a tea in the afternoon and wake up, eat, lack of sleep, repeat. Lack of eat and then sleep, repeat, So it was a lot. I learned a lot. It really showed me where I was holding myself back, like how reliant I was on food.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I was thinking about that before we sat down, and you talk about making that massive change in your diet. Now you say that's like one of the easiest, probably the lowest hanging fruit for anybody that emotionally struggling is to just look at your diet. Look at what you're taking in, because what you take in is what you're going to get. Our cells are rejuvenating. Our whole body's rejuvenating once every 7 years. They say it's all completely new cells. So we're taking in good food all the time. We become that. If we are taking in garbage food all the time and then not feeling good about yourself, it's like, well, because you're putting in a lot of garbage. So it's super cool that you're just addressing that. And you took it to like a really far state, which is so cool. And I've heard stories of stuff and people that have done it and the breakthroughs they've had and the energy and just the shifts they have. So maybe you want to dive into some shifts that you've noticed with
absolutely. This. So with that, I noticed that, like, obviously I'm very spiritual, and I like doing meditation and yoga and just really taking care of my mental body, if you will. My mental state. So through that, it showed me how much more time I have in a day when I'm not preparing meals, sitting down to eat, cleaning up after my food. Felt like I had an extra 3 hours in the day. It was mind-blowing. It showed me how much energy I can have without food, because I was in a state of ketosis from the moment I woke up till I went to bed. I kept saying that it was like I was on jet fuel. Like literally my mind was as sharp as a razor blade. My body was lean cut. I felt supple yet very strong. I'm still in the gym getting after. So that's another thing. People go,
that's right.
Did you take a week off work? No. I'm still working every day, hitting the gym every day, doing yoga, snowboarding, hiked a mountain.
Wow.
And I'm like, where is this coming from?
Wow.
And my body's just afterburners, just like burning this energy off, functioning off those ketones.
Yeah.
And, you know, by day 3, you know, I have food moving through, so less time in the bathroom. And I lost 20 pounds in 7 days.
Yeah.
And I went from 218 to 199.
Yeah. That's a big shift. And you know what I find interesting is that it is one thing to take a 7-day fast and just be like, okay, I'm just not going to eat, whatever, but then to continue doing all those activities.
Right.
Obviously, for anybody that struggled with any sort type of emotional eating, or there's certain times this does not apply. There's certain times for certain situations this does not apply. But it was funny after you mentioned that. It was like, right, how much do we as a society, just in a whole, obviously there's outliers, there's people that are not in that camp, but solely rely on food, solely rely on, oh, I gotta eat this, we're so scheduled, oh, it's 8 o'clock, I gotta eat, it's 12 o'clock, I gotta have my lunch, and then our lives become revolved around food, and our society so much is revolved around food, and there's nothing wrong with the community of it, with the appreciation of it, but I think when it becomes unaware, and when we become unconscious to like, oh, it's 5, I need to eat, oh, it's 8 o'clock, about, you know, and I'm winding down for the day, I need to have snacks, we become unaware and unconscious to being robots, essentially, in our own life, and especially when it revolves around food. Guilty as charged. For sure.
Yeah.
Like 100%, we're all guilty of it. But so to have that, to remove it, to go like, wow, like look at the appreciation and the time, and like you said, how much more time you had. And I bet now you're still eating. I bet now you still feel like you have more time in your day, though, because you were able to kind of pull that awareness away or just be aware of it.
Yeah.
So what other shifts did you notice, and anything else there that you thought was really profound?
Yeah. I have a few other things that I want to get into, but I want to let this create a container so we can dive into this, because this is important. I feel like a lot of people need to hear this. And first of all, agree with everything you said. People, they don't just become unconscious to their patterns and their programs of their eating, but say if they have a bad day, or somebody yells at them, or somebody makes a comment about their weight, they go home and then they eat a chocolate bar and donuts and cookies and ice cream and pizza. How many people out there are unconsciously eating to fill that void within themselves?
Yeah.
And that is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of people in my life that fall in that category of emotionally eating. And some people, you wouldn't even know it because they're jacked and shredded. Yeah. Other people, you would, because they're morbidly obese.
Yeah.
But that's not my point of what I want to say. I mean, it's a side effect of that unconscious eating, and we'll get into that with the shadow and all this stuff. And, you know, I've really noticed how much more autonomy I had, more creativity, more authentic expression, because it was a quantum leap in consciousness for me. Like, so much changed in such a short amount of time. And when we fast, and I mentioned the zodiac sign before we started, if you fast around your zodiac sign, your kundalini energy can really come through your system, and energy centers, chakras, all that, like woo-woo stuff. I can talk about that later if we have time, but it doesn't really matter because we're just talking about like hard science, physiological stuff here. And when we go on a prolonged fast, our body goes into a state of autophagy. You heard of that word?
No.
So autophagy, I've heard it getting thrown around, and just a few days ago I actually had to look it up. I'm like, I feel like I know what it means, but essentially it's when your cells go into the state of rejuvenation.
Yes.
And
because your HGH levels spike.
All of it, yeah. So your cells are in repair mode. They're going. It's like any kind of cancerous mutations. It's recycling all that. So that's really cool. A profound thing that I noticed though was, so I was doing cold plunges and sauna every day. I was meditating anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours a day because of all this more time. I had some insanely profound meditations, but what I noticed was not just how deep I could go, but how quickly I could get there. Because without food, bringing all this information into my mind, it was like, I'm there within 30 seconds or less.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said that, because this morning we didn't get to meditate yesterday because we had lots going on. Honestly, we just got carried away with our day.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when I've been meditating for 6-7 years, almost every day, or probably every day.
Okay.
Almost every day, anyway. But I find that when you have a day off, it takes longer to get back in, and that's something. It's funny you said that because I noticed that today. I was like, man, it was a short one. It was just 15 minutes, but it was like I didn't get into it until probably the last 2 minutes. And so it's interesting when you said that. Yeah, and then it's over, and you're like, oh, come on. So it's interesting you said that you were able to get into that place a lot quicker, which makes me think of like people are always worried. You know, time's our greatest asset, right? Our greatest commodity, and so we. When with that, you know, with our time being our greatest commodity, everybody's always so constrained with time. So I think of like, okay, well, doing meditation, I don't have time to do 30 meditations, 50 meditations, whatever, hour. And I get it, even though you probably reality is anybody that did a time audit could go, yes, you do. Mm-hmm. But if they don't feel you can, but can you imagine having a 10-minute meditation that felt like time just like slowed right down? And I've had those. Mm-hmm. Not very often, but I've had those where it feels like time, it was a 10-minute one that felt like an hour, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? So can you imagine if you could get there that quick all the time? Right? Like how amazing, how powerful. So if somebody didn't, I want to meditate. What if you get that feeling in 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you felt like you meditated and you stretched time for an hour?
Yeah.
Which is really fascinating. So I think that's really cool. You're having that experience, and it really got me on the train of like, right, how often am I dictated by food? Mm-hmm. How often do I let food dictate my life and it become the master and not me? Right? And it really got me thinking down that path. So that's why I really wanted to talk about this with you and just hear what happened, the ins and outs, and anything else that came up. And
and like, you know, there's one meditation in particular that sticks out to me. It was probably like Wednesday or Thursday. So, I mean, we're deep into the fast. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome, man. I had my bed all set up, and I had my pillows all like cocooned, and I had my sleep mask and my headphones, and, you know, had some essential oils and stuff, and just like really set the stage for it. And I set my timer for 45 minutes, and I went into it, and it just disappeared. I was gone. My body was dead asleep, but my mind was fully awake. I was in this viable fourth state of consciousness, as they call it. Mm-hmm. Emily Fletcher's Eva meditation, the gurus, the yogis. You're not waking, you're not sleeping, and you're not dreaming. Mm-hmm. But you're in this like weird place that they can't really describe. And 45 minutes felt like 4 hours. Like you're talking about stretching, but time can also contract. Yes. When we're in that flow state, that physiological state of transient hypofrontality, your left prefrontal cortex quietens down just enough that the inner narrator goes on vacation. Mm-hmm. Your sense of self is kind of gone. You're in the deep now. Time dilates, expands, contracts, all these things. And I literally was probably like 35 minutes into it, and I was like, I didn't set an alarm. Like it feels like 3 hours gone by. And I came out and I still had 15 minutes left on my timer.
It's like, what?
Okay, well, let's get back into it, and just like
think into it.
It was crazy. And I just had more time to write and to create these things and hang out with people, and I was sleeping good. I've never really had issues with my gut. Mm-hmm. But as you know, there's a chronic epidemic of leaky gut, and people with IBS and Crohn's and celiac, gluten intolerance, dairy. The food right now is horrific. And it's not the food, it's the pesticides, it's the GMOs, it's the glyphosate. It's all the shit they spray on our food. Mm-hmm. Poisoning us, toxins, blah, blah, blah. I could go down the rabbit hole, but we're not here to do that. And so it's the truth. Like, people are talking about it. And it's coming to the forefront, and people going, okay, maybe I should choose organic. Maybe I should
grow my own.
Maybe I should just not eat for a week and see what happens. And people like, man, the amount of flack I got, like we were talking before this too, it's like the amount of people that thought I was losing my mind, or that I'm an idiot, you're gonna die, you're harming your body. No, I'm not. Thank you, but no, I'm not.
The human body can survive for minimum 21 days.
Weeks.
3 weeks. So like,
there's a Sundance Festival where the indigenous people gather, and they don't eat for 4 days or drink for 4 days. Wow. A 4-day dry fast.
Wow.
And they have profound mystical experiences. Wow. It's so cool.
Totally.
Yeah, and so with the fast, it's like Like even some family members, I heard, you know, it's like, it's okay. Like, I know my body. I know my body better than anybody else on this planet.
Yep.
And you know your body better than anybody
100%.
else. And I always say that when I'm personal training with my clients. It's like, you know your body better than anybody else. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it.
Yeah.
So listen to that internal compass. Listen to your intuition. And so with that fast, I guess what else I would say is just that it unlocked a new level of potential within me. And through that potential, I saw a higher level of vision and a new marker in which I could set my goals to. And coming out of that, so I'll talk about that too. At the end of the 7 days, I went to a breathwork journey. My buddy Dustin, he does 9D breathwork.
Okay.
I don't know if I talked about it last time, but like I did mention breath work.
Yep.
So the tool of breath work has been profound on my journey. 9D is like 9 layers. There's isochronic beats, solfeggio frequencies, binaural audio, 3D spatial audio, sub-hypnotic tracks. That's like 9, right? And it's an experience. It takes you on a journey. And so on the 7th day, I went into this breathwork journey, and it was like an hour long, and I just had one of the best times of my life. I was crying. I was like feeling just so deeply, like the amount of gratitude pouring out of my heart, man. It was more tears of gratitude than it was of sorrow and grief.
Yeah.
And just
that's
like,
cool.
wow, I'm so grateful for my vessel and my family and my connection and my community and this beautiful space. And, you know, there was like a dozen people there.
Yeah.
All these people I'm super close with and like dear members of my tribe. And I came out of it and I'm like, get to eat. Because I planned it for that. I had a liter of chocolate milk. I had some cut up watermelon, some strawberries, blueberries, and some dark chocolate.
Yeah. Nice.
And I was so happy, dude. I was like bouncing with excitement. And Craig's like, buddy, I had probably this much watermelon, 4 little strawberries, little handful of blueberries, couple pieces of chocolate, and like 3 sips on the chocolate milk, and I was full.
Wow. Yeah.
I was like,
your stomach again. Your stomach.
It's like this.
It's tiny.
Contracted.
Totally, but you know, it's so cool.
It was insane.
Because I think about it, it's like when you remove those crutches, when you remove those just barriers that we put on ourselves, how much more can we become? It's kind of what I got out of that. It was like, out of that story, which I think is so profound, what really got me thinking is like, right, what limitations am I putting on myself? Yeah. Big or small? Maybe it's something simple as like, oh, I got kids, so this. Maybe it's something like, oh, well, you know, maybe food being tied down to that it has to be structured. And yes, if you're doing certain things, again, you might not fall into that category, that's fine. But for most people, they'd be okay with that. And really realizing how much potential you have on the other side of that. So going through that challenge, and that's something that really is what this whole podcast was about, was helping people realize like those struggles change your life. And if you're ready to listen and ready to pay attention and have the awareness, there's a lesson there, and you can see a better version of yourself once you go through that, which I think is really cool that you kind of embodied that in a short time and had that profound experience and had that big shift of like, wow, I could do these things. And being able to silence the naysayers or just turn down their volume, even if they mean well, turn down that volume and say, thank you, no thank you. Yeah. Right? Appreciate you, but I don't need to hear that right now. And be able to go walk that journey that you need to walk. And obviously it didn't harm you. Obviously you're okay. You don't look like you're deprived or don't look like you're going to fall over anytime soon, right? But it almost is like a metaphor for life if you think about it. How many times are we willing to... One, how many times are we willing to go through that challenge? Most of the time not. But when we do start going to that challenge, he's holding us back. Holding us back, saying, hey, stop going through that. Don't, I don't want you to be different. I don't want you to be different. When it's like, this is my journey. Yeah, they're all pulling each other back down. And it's, again, maybe they mean well, but they're not, it's because they don't see what's on the other side. They don't realize like there's actually something good there. Yeah. And so it's okay to tell them to be quiet. But more importantly, recognizing that there is a better version out there, but you have to be willing to go through that dark that challenge, right? So you came out of this, you had this breathwork experience. You were more creative, which I think was super cool. And, you know, studies are showing, and more research I'm doing is showing that creative space, when you're in that creative space, anxiety melts away.
Oh,
Stress melts away.
gone.
Yeah. So you get into this place where you feel like you're really contributing. And at the end of the day, that's super important. That's, I think, more important than a lot of this other stuff where people say, oh, well, you gotta, don't offend anybody and don't make sure everybody around you's happy. It's like, no, man, life doesn't work like that. If I try to make everybody else happy, this ain't gonna work.
You're like, oh, there's nothing left in my cup to pour.
Yeah, exactly. How am I supposed to give you any if I don't fill up my own cup? But that's the beautiful part, when you are filling up your cup and creative like that. You feel good, so you can continue to create more, and you can handle that. So coming out of that, was there any other, what's kind of the next step now for you? What's something now that you're looking to move forward to, and that somebody that maybe is not willing to go through that journey,
right,
but maybe they're curious about it,
right? If somebody's curious, I always say, what's the ceiling of like pushing the potential, like David Goggins? And then what's the floor? Like, what's the minimum effective dose?
Yeah.
Wake up and see how long you can go without breakfast.
Yeah.
See if you can wait till lunch.
Yeah.
Maybe you wait till first coffee break if you're I need breakfast.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting, amazing.
Yep. Lots of good research.
Start playing with intermittent fasting. From intermittent fasting, you can push it till maybe 2 p.m., 4 p.m., have one meal, go to bed, do it again the next day. It's all about sustainability. That's the thing here. So I am a man of extremes at times. For me, having ADHD and neurodivergent, my whole life it's been all or nothing. If I can't change my whole life overnight, then might as well not even try. Was my motto for years. It's just idiotic, but hey, I'm over it and I'm a better man because of it.
That's right.
But for people that stuff their face unconsciously, maybe even before starting intermittent fasting, just to get half of an idea about what you're stuffing into your face, download MyFitnessPal. Start tracking your calories, going, holy fuck, okay, I'm actually eating 6,500 calories in a day. No wonder I'm not losing weight. So start there.
Ingredients.
Or that too, yeah. Right. First ingredient, soybean oil, palm oil, canola oil.
Yeah.
If it's got 50 ingredients that you can't pronounce, you probably should put it back on the shelf.
Yeah.
Whole Foods, the ingredient diet. You heard of that one?
No.
It's just, you get it. It's just like eating the ingredients.
Yes.
Minimal sauces. If not, make your own sauce. Just healthy whole foods. Like, just our diet is so important. Our gut brain is just as powerful as our head brain, and then the heart brain as well. You know, we've got 3 brains. And by changing our diet, it changes our physiological structure. It changes our biochemical compounds, neurotransmitter, neuropeptides, dopamine, serotonin. Apparently 95% of the serotonin is produced in the gut.
Yeah.
So if your gut's messed up,
full of sugars and heavy fats and
fermented,
there's
literal shit stuck in there. Like my buddy Corey, he's a plumber, right? And he's like, the amount of times there's a pipe and just the residue is stuck in that pipe, so that the flow channel, and I was like, whoa, like, that's like our gut. The average person has 15 to 20 pounds of shit in their gut at all times. And some of that could be caked onto those pipes. So doing a cleanse, doing a fast of like healing that gut, because I did a workshop yesterday with my friend Tori, and you know, we can put a pin in that for later if we got time for it, but she is amazing. But she was talking about how in the Bible there's these 4 rivers, right? River of Euphrates, all these other ones, but the third one is it's part and parcel with our gastric fluid. And she's talking about the gut and how if we have toxicity in our gut, it's leaking and it's messing up our whole system. And by cleansing that gut, by doing a fast, and for people to get into it by being more conscious of what they're bringing in, and intermittent fasting, and then try to go for a day, just one day, 2 days, 3 days, like just jump into it slowly. And for me, it's like I wasn't really like going in with the intention of doing a 7-day fast. Obviously it was like 3 days, but before that was probably Oh man, 5 years before I did a multi-day fast. But the last time I did it, it wiped me out.
Right.
My sister's like, you look like Ethiopian. Like,
oh wow.
I looked sick.
Yeah.
I did
like you were sick
3
of it.
days.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, Emily. I did 3 days on juice and then 2 days on water, and I was laying in bed the whole time.
Wild.
Yep, because I did it for my acne. I had terrible cystic acne when I was like 20, 21. So I guess it was more than a few years ago. I tried pulling out all the stops to clear my skin. I had perfect skin in high school. And then my 20s hit, and it was like delayed puberty, and I just pizza face. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying all these things. Do it fast. Okay, whatever, I'll try it. And I hated it, and I'm like, fuck fasting. I'm never going to do it again. I felt like shit. I had no energy. And then now with all the tools, so it's mind over matter, right? As we know, the universe is mental, the all is mind. The first Hermetic principle, number one, if you can will your mind, your body will follow.
Yeah.
So with the mental tools that I have, meditation, cold plunge, sauna, journaling, breath work.
Yeah.
Every day I was getting in peak mental states that my body was just like, okay, here we are. I guess let's party.
Yeah.
And so by willing my mind with have such a strong intention to do what I was doing, there was not a shred of doubt. And the way I can best explain it is that if it's 99% a go and there's 1%, you're holding your foot on the brake. 1 liter of toxic used oil will taint 1 million liters of fresh water. You believe that?
Yeah. Wild. The metaphor is powerful, because how often in our lives, again, guilty, we've all been guilty, right? People listening to this,
I'm not perfect, people.
Yeah,
I'm doing my best here. I'm still a human.
Yeah, but you're right. It's like, how many times do we have that little shred of doubt that can seep in? So if you're not aware of it, and that's something I'm really picking up from a lot of awareness, is that if you're not aware of that like little bit there, and doing all these tools, that little bit can just start growing and start growing and start growing until that little sliver of doubt becomes this monster in your head and this parasite. They talked about before, this parasite living inside you, and you're like, oh my god, can I get this out? And even if it's just these like thoughts that you get braided with, and these things that tell you can't do it, and constantly trying to hold you back, because it's change. And the more and more you look into like why change is so difficult for humans, it's because, well, one, I found something I thought was super interesting. It was our brains scan for danger 5 times a second. 5 times a second. We're always looking for danger, constantly. So you have to think, okay, well, what was dangerous when we were cavemen? Anything new. Anything new was dangerous. Right? A foreign plant, we don't know, let's back away. Foreign animal, we don't know, back away. Because that's the easiest thing to do, is like freeze, then run, then fight, right? In terms of energy preservation, that's the steps. It's freeze first, because that's easy. Then run, that takes less energy than fighting. So my point there is that anytime we see, we're trying to come up with change, we're trying to do these powerful changes in our lives, and maybe someone's like, okay, I can do this. They're trying to change their diet, they're trying to do this, and there's that part that's holding back, because change is unknown. That life is unknown, and because you haven't lived it before, or you might not have lived it. So the best thing I always say to people is, when you're in that state, is like, start imagining it. That's where the meditation is so powerful. Or even just like closing your eyes, even if you're not like meditating, but even just sitting there, which is still meditation, but just close your eyes and just imagine what it'd be like to be the change. What would it be like to feel it? And that was a great talk I had with Ryan Sawyer last week. Was about that. Was not just thinking it, but he talked about feeling the change. Feel what it feels like to be Brody, that's in his creative space, running the life that he wants. Feel what it feels like to be Nathaniel, doing this and coaching and whatever it is, whatever next step you want, because then you start feeling it, it starts to become more and more real, and you're normalizing it. Right? Because at the end of the day, we all change, and that's like the only thing that's consistent in our world is change.
Change is the only constant in nature.
Exactly. And so to be afraid of it, and it's not conscious. Most time we're not conscious of it.
Of course.
It's actually most times unconscious, and we're unaware of it.
It's the shadow.
It's the shadow, right? We're unaware of it. So when you bring that awareness, like we were mentioning before, bring that awareness, we can at least be like, hey, this is here. Why is it here? And do I want it? And bring some awareness to it and start asking it questions.
Curious.
Be curious about it. Why is it there? Okay. What else could be true? And because now if I can bring some awareness to it, start talking about asking questions, then I can move through that and realize that, well, what now? I see this is here, but what else do I want? And then start moving into that. And that's where I think the power of just bringing some awareness to your diet, bringing the awareness to this, to this fast gave you that clarity, right? And so it makes me think, what else do we need to fast from? Right? Yeah, scrolling on your phone. What else do I need to fast from? What else does society need to fast from? What else is something we just need a break from? I had some family I met tried with on the weekend, and it was they're talking about the news, and in my head I'm going like, this is why I don't watch the news, because there's nothing good. So, is there other things you feel like people need to take a fast from, or that you've started to fast from? That's like, you know what? Yeah, I could actually take a break from that for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my one of my core values is honesty, transparency, authenticity.
Nice.
So honoring those, I've fasted from alcohol.
Yeah.
Marijuana.
Yeah.
I've done cocaine in my past. I haven't done that shit since before Christmas, but I'm like done. My scrolling habits have completely changed.
Yeah.
Quit watching porn.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Started really being more conscious of the stuff I'm putting in my body. So fasting from sugar as much as I can. I mean, guilty as charged. The other night before I went to bed, I had half a chocolate cake and half a pint of chocolate ice cream, which I'm not too happy about, but whatever, 80-20. So, yeah, buddy, it's a journey, and we can't shame ourselves into self-growth.
Yeah.
We can surrender to it.
Yeah.
Surrender was my word of the year last year, because I was caught in a whirlwind hurricane of shit happening, I thought, to me. Meanwhile, it was happening for me.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say that you said we fear change. Humans. It's not the human's fault. It's the mind's lack of awareness.
Yeah.
Because with higher awareness, change is fine. Terrence McKenna.
That's a good point.
He has a quote, and he says, nature loves courage. When we surrender to the uncertainty of jumping off that cliff, the universe will reward us with gifts unseen. I'm paraphrasing, but hitting the points. But he's like, when you finally commit to be in that state of, I have no idea what's going to happen, and you're freaking out, but you're like, okay, like the amount of novelty, the amount of potential excitement when you were a kid, right? Let's just take you back, and you were going on a field trip. Or maybe you got the privilege to go to Disney World when you were a kid. How freaking excited were you? Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But you didn't know what was going to happen. That novelty had you on the edge of your seat.
Yes, and you become so domesticated.
By the patterns, the programs, the eating at lunch, the scrolling. I get home, this is my show.
Yeah, crack a beer and I watch my show.
Totally, man. And there's so many people out there. Exactly.
Yeah.
But that fear of change keeps us thinking that we're static beings. You don't have to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We're changing timelines 82 billion times a second.
Yeah.
Constantly. Change. Cells are dying off and reproducing a million times a minute, man.
Yeah,
that's
true.
There's so much change, but our sliver of seeing the frequency of light makes us think that this table is solid. It's not. Another hermetic principle is the law of vibration. Nothing rests.
Yeah. Yep.
So with that change model and that quote, I love that quote. So I guess to put the capstone on that quote, he says that nature loves courage. When you lean into that courage and you're in the land of uncertainty, you jump off the cliff edge, but you land in a feather bed.
Yeah.
Every single time. And Peter Crone, do you know him?
No.
Oh, buddy. So he says that if it's not life-threatening, it's ego-threatening.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's big.
He calls himself the mind architect, and
I've heard of him. Yes, so this podcast for very good.
Yeah, he was on the Know Thyself podcast with Andre Duquam,
right.
and they came out with like the 3rd episode that he's been on. He's been on there thrice times. Great, man. Yeah. It's a phenomenal episode, and they're just talking about unconsciousness and ego, and you know that amazing quote, like if it's not life threatening, it's ego threatening. And for me, ego means edging God out.
Right.
God, okay, you know, great outdoors, geometric, omnidiversal design, whatever you want to call that higher power. Like in the 12 steps, they say God as you understand him or understood him.
Yeah.
I love that, because then it's not like Krishna, Murti, Jesus, Buddha. Like, it's just whatever you understand of that higher power. You're not just blindly leading into faith based off what somebody told you. It's just like, I believe that there's something guiding me because I should have died.
Yeah.
How many times?
Right,
I should have been in the car. I almost got in a car accident on the way here, man. Like, some guy ran the yellow, and I was like, whoa. And it's like, you know, if I wasn't paying attention, or if it would have been a split-second difference, like, who knows?
Yeah.
And the amount of synchronicities and serendipities and the way things are going in my life, it's like, I am not alone in this. I am so arrogant and egotistical to think that I would be alone here. And so when humans can understand that they're not alone, and they can will that over to whatever that other energy may be, surrender to it, and then start to work in tandem with it, profound changes happen.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it goes back, and not to go back too far.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of hit it before, is when you start removing those things from your life that don't serve the highest version of you, or in other words, something that doesn't serve the ultimate version of you, the hero version of you, right? Maybe that's a term people resonate with. That's a term I like to resonate with sometimes. You're being the hero.
Yeah, I love that.
That it'll damage you. And it'll throw you off that path. It'll push you away from that path that you could be on. Yeah. You mentioned it. If you're drinking all the time and it's controlling your life, you might not even think it's controlling your life. But if it's not serving the hero version of you, should you put it away for a bit? Doesn't mean forever. Doesn't mean you're never going to have a beer and celebrate with your buddies because something major happened in your life, or you're at a wedding and you're never going to drink again.
Totally.
And you're having, whatever. It's just, is it serving the highest, ultimate version of you? No? Okay, well, maybe let's entertain the idea of putting it away. Is that Pornhub serving the best version of you? No. Guilty as charged. Yeah. Most guys out there guilty.
Yeah.
Right?
Whether they're single or in a relationship.
Yeah, totally. It's not serving the best version of you. Let's think about putting that away for a bit. Being addicted to food, drugs, the phone right now. Phones being the scroll hole, and the amount of times you're with somebody and they pull their phone and you're talking to them and they're right? Scrolling or just aimless scrolling. How many hours you're being addicted to it? Would the hero version of you be doing that?
Video games, same thing.
Video games, TV, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's not to say like if you do any of those things you're a sinner and your life's over. It's just looking at it and going like, does this serve the best version of me? Would the hero of my own life do this? If the answer is no, then try to do less of it. Put it away. Take some time away, so that way you can have these profound experiences. That way you can step into these gifts that you have. That you can step into this life that you want to create and build these things and have these visions and have these epiphanies that you're having. Right? Because it's cool, because it's fascinating to see, because you're going through that journey right now. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this.
You can feel it. You notice it.
Yeah, and you can see it's like, oh, here you are now, and here you are there. And I'm not saying I've mastered the game by any means, but I've done my version of that, where I've had to say no to those things and done a hard no to all of them.
Yes.
For me, it was a phone, it was porn, it was anything like that. It was just being distracted by anything and anybody. All those things, I had to put those away and go through that to be like, oh, right, here's a better version of me. I found a partner that sees that better version of me. I'm really going to lean into that now because it feels good. And this over here feels much better than that old version of me. And so to do that, yeah, absolutely, buddy. And so what I think is so cool is that you're going through that and you're seeing all these gifts and things and amazing things that can open up in your life and how profound it can be. And the cool part is how it's not just for you. Right? It's not just you, like, and yeah, because you talk a certain way and you act a certain way and you do these things, but if somebody to watch us that didn't really dive down the circle go like, right, here's somebody in my head, I think of like, okay, can we just remove the story, maybe you don't see yourself in Brody or me, that's fine, but can you see yourself in someone that has some things that they want to change in their life, that has some things that control their life unconsciously? Can you step into that or look at that and go, okay, how can I make some changes? What can I do to address some of these things? And is there a better version of me out there? And just be willing to explore, be willing to be brave, to take that step. Because when you take that step, as you mentioned in that poem, like, when you take that step, it is scary. But there's that moment where you feel like you're flying. So even if you fall and land, you still feel like you're flying. And anybody that's done great things, in all these books I'm reading, they talk about that. They talk about taking that step and being brave and having that courage to go through it. The fear is not there. It's still there, but you're just moving through it. So is there any other change that you've noticed during this process? Or any small version that you think you would pass on to somebody that they could start with? And how else is this making an impact into the things you want to do now? And there's a few questions here.
Yeah, no, that's good. Just do it scared. And no is a complete sentence. No doesn't need accessories. Like you said, hard no.
Yeah.
Hard no, hard boundaries. This is my line in the sand and I will not cross it.
Yeah.
No ifs, ands, or buts. Get off my ass because I'm not going to budge.
Yeah.
That power of standing within oneself and trusting yourself, because it's like people are like, oh, come out and drink, come out and eat dinner with us. To be like, no, I'm doing a fast. Oh, what? It's like to do it without the worry of what people are going to say. Like dude, there's so much that I could go on about, like why this is so profound, but just like really what it is, it's like understanding ourselves at a deeper level is imperative for our growth. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone, as we know.
Yeah.
Self-awareness precedes all personal growth. By doing this, you have more time, and if you choose to have that time without the vices and distracting yourself and use it for deep introspective self-analysis, in 1 week, holy shit, people could have a quantum leap.
Yeah. And so what do you mean when you say quantum leap? Like I get what you mean, but like what for again that right, what would that mean to them, and what could that like look like? And
it's a good way to explain it. Say we're on a railway track. Oh, this is my life. Wake up. Oh, I'm Brody. I'm gonna go brush my teeth. I'm gonna go to work. I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna eat that. Into oblivion. Oh, it's Friday again. Oh, I just got paid. Oh, it's another year. Oh, new year, new me. Oh, no, same automatic thing. Yeah. We're just on this roll. But then sometimes you'll come up and you'd be like, you have these check signs or like, you know, whatever, the railway crossing. I'm not a railway engineer, but there's these chances where we can be curious and lean into change and be brave and go, oh, whoa, what's over here? But it's like when you go off of a little deviation, it's just like slowly that expands over time. Yeah. But when you go from here and you go and jump over here to this one, that's quantum leap. The quantum field of consciousness, the quantum field is the scientific field in which all particles are connected beyond time and space. And through quantum entanglement, quantum mechanics, and energetics timelines, like I was just saying, like, you know, if nothing changes, nothing changes. But if you have a freaking massive change that is an avalanche of conscious awareness, it's going to totally change and alter the trajectory of your life.
Right,
so it's like
an epiphany, essentially. An epiphany with
breakthrough,
action.
Revelation. And so it's like you're taking a leap through that quantum field. It's just like going through a wormhole in time and space. It's like, whoa, and whoa, it's just like Interstellar. They go through the wormhole at Saturn, and now they're in another universe, a galaxy. That's literally what it's like. That's what it's been like for me, and I've noticed that in my clients and people and my friends. If somebody's hungry, willing, and coachable, I'll tell you what to do. But what's your level of willingness to surrender and commit to the biggest change of your life to be that hero?
Yeah.
That's what's on the other side of what is holding people back.
Yeah, and I love what you said there too, and it's so good because, you know, when you think of quantum leaps, because that's why I want to really get clear on what that is, because it's like, I was thinking, epiphany, but epiphany is just an awareness, which is good, and I'd say they go hand in hand, but I would say, grab that. I would say with the epiphany too, or with this, is that quantum leap, it's not just, oh wow, boom, it's you leap.
What's your body too?
Well, you did something about it, right?
Yeah.
You're not just thinking about it, you took action. Like, well, I'm gonna step through that threshold of change. I'm gonna step through that wormhole and just see what's on the other side. And and I think that's amazing. Like you said, you're helping people do that and going through those massive life-changing changes, which I try to think back to anybody I know. It's like, we're all changing. When was the last time you had something like that where you felt really good about it that you regretted? You know, because you can always reverse it. That's something I use with people a lot. To say, okay, let's reverse this. Let's say, two ways. You go say, let's say you do that step. How's it going to feel? What is it going to look like? Well, it's okay, let's talk about it. Let's think about it. Okay, what if you don't? Okay, well, I'm going to stay the same. I'm going to stay in this loop. My life's going to be the exact same. You can always go back if you really aren't happy. But most people, once they do that, they're like, wow, I'm never going back to that place again. How did I spend my life scroll holing? Or how, why was I in such a bad relationship when, you're searching up stuff you shouldn't be searching up and looking at things. It's like, of course you're in a bad mindset. Of course, right? You're feeding your brain these things to compare and to be upset about and to not be happy with. So I really can appreciate, and that's a really good analogy. Again, I'm a visual person, so as soon as you said, that movie, I was like, oh my god,
Interstellar.
I was like, oh my god, you're right. That's a great analogy. To we don't have to wrap this up, but it's something that we wanted to talk a little bit about was finding that new identity, right? Because when you come through that, it's like a whole new world.
Totally.
Okay, like, what do I do now?
Who am I?
So yeah, exactly. So now, okay, this big change, boom, you're there. Who am I? So how are you navigating that new version of me now? I'm in this new galaxy, I'm in this new wormhole. I've stepped through this big change. I'm not gonna look at porn anymore. I'm not gonna be drinking all the time anymore. I'm gonna try to be the hero version of myself. What is something you're doing to find that new version of you?
Play.
Okay. What do you mean? You want to expand a bit?
Of course. We need more play, brother.
Yeah.
People,
I agree,
are like this.
Yeah.
Like I was explaining to your partner there, I was on my way here. Slept in a little bit. Wanted to get here. I'm burning down the highway probably faster than I should. Fly up in the passing lane on this guy, and he's waiting for the next car to get out of the way, and whatever, I just came up and wasn't right on his tail. All of a sudden he's brake checking me and getting onto the rocks to try to spray my windshield, and then he gets up and he flies over and he's got his arm out the window and he's just flipping me the bird. And I get up beside him, I'm like, no, not cool. People are so serious. They're just pissed off. They're looking for a reason to explode. And I'm not speaking in general absolutes, but a lot of people don't have play. They don't have laughter. Follow around a kid and watch how exuberant they live their life through the innocent eyes of wonderment. And they're just like, ooh, they're just picking this up, chew on that. Why not?
Lick it, whatever.
Sure, try it out. It's so funny watching how they express themselves and the wide range of emotions in the play. But through understanding this new version of myself, it's Play is a huge one for me because this is a good one. This will be quick. I was talking to my mom last night on the phone, and it's like I said I have this backpack on, and through this backpack it's covered in mud. It's been through the trenches with me. It's been there through all my trauma. And every time I get caught up on something, it's just like, oh man, this pile of dog shit. Oh, I hate this so much. Let's just throw it back there and save it for later. Oh, this lump of coal. Oh God, I don't want to deal with this right now. Throw it back there until this thing is overflowing and my shoulders are getting sore and I'm dragging it. And I'm like, oh, all I want to do is take it off, but I can't. It's like sewn into my shoulders.
It's a metaphor, just anybody listening.
Yeah, so no, I do actually have I'll show you the scars. But like I said earlier, it's like when you can take those shadow aspects, those piles of crap and the coal and hit that stuff with the Care Bear stare through unconditional love, it's like taking a fire hose and blasting off the distortion that reveals the gem. Inside is a little golden pearl, and that's the gift. And when you foster that gift, it unlocks the city. Right? Not the city of Kelowna, but the Siddhic powers of yogic tradition and enlightened philosophy and all that fun stuff. But it's like I had this backpack and it was like, shake all this stuff out. It's all laid out there. Oh my God, I really don't want to look at this. But be curious, surrender, be courageous, jump off the cliff. Spray all this stuff down and go, whoa, look at this pile of gems that I have now. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't get sexually abused. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't go through that breakup. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't lose my job and get screamed at.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Pile all those gems in there and I have all this room, but then not only that is that my inner child feels safe to come out and play.
Yeah.
And so I have my inner child in this backpack. And he's like, let's go over here. Let's go and jump on that. Let's go over here.
Yeah, let's go be, yeah.
And I'm just like, but I'm an adult. I'm supposed to be like Mr. Serious.
Yeah.
Says who? Society? Says the machine?
Yeah.
Says the domestication of what should be?
Modern man. And yeah, I
totally
agree. And that it's so funny.
So that's, I guess, a good way to put it.
Yeah, you know what? I love that. That is so good because I think of when I went through my big changes, doing the therapy, having the breakup, divorce, splitting up, all that kind of stuff, big changes. What did I go back to? I went back to coaching. Why did I go back to coaching? Because it was fun. And I went back to playing football because I get to play. Right? And it was like, and I felt alive. And it was serious. Like, it wasn't just like goofy dick around, but it was serious and it was fun. I was moving my body. And I 100% agree we don't do it enough as adults. This is why I'm so big into, like, anytime we have, like, friends over, we're playing board games. Yeah. We're playing card games. Let's have some fun. Let's do something. And watch what happens to people. And I'd say it's a really great icebreaker, too.
The mask falls down.
The mask falls down when we start to have fun and you play a card game. And you can really see people's character because they'll get angry and upset that they're losing. You're like, oh, well, you're not somebody over this useless game that means nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you're not somebody I want to spend a lot of time with, or they like it, but they're getting, whatever, or they're laughing, having fun. It's like, oh, it really reveals character. And it's funny how so many times people that you thought were so serious, when you see them play these games, it's like, oh, there's their kid. And there it is. And it's like, and just, that's okay. It's okay to be that. You're not wearing it all the time. Yeah. Good example is my brother-in-law. Big dude, he's like 6'4", he's built like a NFL D end, he's huge. And it was like, and he's always just so serious, right? And he's not actually, but like when he walks around and talks, it just seems very serious. Just stoic.
Stoic.
And he's a firefighter, and fair point. Like, he has to be. And I give him a lot of credit. Like, that's some tough stuff. Shout out to all the firefighters. There's some, like,
first responders.
Yeah, there's some, like, that's some tough stuff they have to go through. But when I saw him, it was 2 Christmases ago, we were playing these, like, goofy, like, ping pong ball games and doing this, like, dumb stuff, and just to, like, see him smiling, start being a kid, I was like, oh, right, there he is. He's actually quite silly, he's actually quite goofy, and he's actually quite, like, funny, and but it's just, sometimes you wear that mask too much. And I think you're right, I think it's, like, such a good way to reveal and to see who we want to be again. It reminded me, and it's so good you said that, it reminded me lots of stuff I read is when people want to find their gifts and find out who they're supposed to be and what's my purpose. I've heard it time and time again, is like, what was your favorite thing to do between the ages of like 7 and like 13 and 14? Most kids are playing. What were you playing? Were you the kid that wanted to dig in the sand and build everything you could? Were you playing with Lego? Were you drawing? Were you just sitting there listening to music nonstop? Were you out playing sports? Like, you know, it doesn't mean that that's, oh, I was playing basketball. Well, now you must be a professional basketball player. Okay, well, you're 45. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Go shoot some hoops and let's talk.
Yeah, but it's a good place to start. Have some fun. Yeah. And then you start realizing, like, you know what? I really miss being around people. It wasn't playing. It was that I wanted to be around people, or I wanted to coach,
connection,
or I wanted to help my friends because I always loved seeing them do this or whatever. Or maybe I like filming it. It's just, it opens up more, and more importantly, you break out of that. It helps you move through that that wormhole.
Yeah,
as we talked about. And really break the ice to that new version of you. Right. Really break the ice. Again, it's why I love doing when I meet new people, and if we're having like a dinner party or something, and it's a lot of people I don't know, it's like the first thing I want to do, I'm like, let's play a game. Right? Let's really see who you're like.
I love that.
And let's take off that mask. And so when you said that, was so profound and so needed, because when was the last time you played a game that you're having fun and you felt anxiety? When was the last time you played a game that was fun for you and you felt stress or worried about money or any of these things? They melt away, and going back to what we were talking about before, time seems to speed up now. Right? As they say, time flies when you're having fun. Now time gets distorted, and that's a whole other conversation, which I want to have. Yeah. Time gets distorted.
I'll be back, don't worry.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll dive in. That'll be part 3. Part 3 will be time and space, and we'll go into all that. But now time speeds up, and now you get to just be that little bit of a version of yourself that you could be, and realize, oh, I could have more of that. Or, you know, maybe I can't do this every day, but what if I do this? Right. You know, I can do this and this. I can play once a week here and do this here and make it part of your life, to then start that change, to then realize you want more. So
once you start wiggling through, it just expands, and it takes you into infinity if you let it.
Yeah, and I think you do. I've got to give you a lot of credit. You do a great job of just your ADHD. You called it. It's a superpower. It's a superpower.
I know that now, but for years it had me in a freaking
chokehold. Totally, and it's a superpower because that process, and that's why it's so cool to listen to you say this stuff, and I'm just like blown away by it. Is that process took me 3, 4 years, 5 years to go through, and you did it like it sounds like you were starting to do it in like a week, right? And so it's crazy the power we can have when we remove those barriers, when we remove those things that shackle us, that we don't realize are running our lives. And I'm so glad we're able to sit down and talk about this, and for your wisdom on this, because it's still a reminder to me to have fun. It's a reminder to me to be like, right, yeah, my kids sometimes can be tough. How can I have fun with them? Yeah, this, you know, starting this business and the coaching and the other stuff, it can be tough. How can I have fun?
Right.
How can I come back to just having fun, even little bits every day? Make it fun, be light. Yeah. It's okay, right? Yeah. We don't have to be so serious.
Yeah, buddy.
So
nobody gets out alive.
Yeah, absolutely. So make some memories. So, you know, we're starting to kind of wrap this up a bit, and I know we have so much we could go down, and I think we're going to let everybody know there's going to be a part 3. Yeah. We're going to talk about some more deep stuff, some real deep. We'll talk some time and space, some meditation stuff, some creating new versions of ourselves. But any last wisdom that you feel like somebody needs to hear right now that, let's say, is just looking at their lives and going like, man, I want this life. What do I need to do? How do I get through that? What's some wisdom that you feel like you need to share with?
Be so curious. But through that curiosity, develop desire. And just know that you, whoever's listening, whoever's watching, you deserve everything you desire. All of it and then some. There's the awareness. There's the profound realization, oh my gosh, I can change my life. Then there's the integration of that. But then there's this thinking-doing gap where we get stuck in. And from integration to embodiment is that free fall of letting go.
Yeah.
So when we can embody it, when we can walk it, when we know our truth, when we can stand in that, when we can say no, and only say yes to the things that are a part of that map, that massive action plan, like Big Tony talks about.
Mm-hmm.
As we become more awake and more conscious and more illuminated, we go through this model, which my beautiful friend Rose has gifted to the world. It's called ashes. So we have the awareness of which I just talked about, the awareness of like, holy shit. And then the S is seeking. Then we seek. Okay, I want to read these books. Oh, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Wayne Dyer, all these guys. Like, I have a laundry list of books that I could, maybe we can link in the show notes or something. We can figure it out, because there's so many books that have absolutely helped with that wormhole quantum leap. Through that seeking comes the healing. And replace the word healing with feeling, because it's just sitting in that and feeling the feels. Yeah. Because by feeling it, we can heal that, and we deal with that, and we move on with our lives. Yes. But once you've healed, now you start expanding. Because that wormhole, right? I love the wormhole. I love how that's just come in here. It's like, oh, this is my life, but then it's like you start feeling all this pressure and this constriction, and oh my gosh. But then in the center of that, it's like, boom, a diamond is formed. Right? The gift shows up, and then as it expands is the expansiveness of that city frequency, that consciousness that comes through, right? And it's funny how we have weaved that in here inadvertently, but we will have another one for that. But through that expansion, through that coming out of the wormhole, everything is speeding up. You're playing, you're flowing, and it's like, wow, you're bringing these gifts to the world. And through that state of expansion, you're learning who you are. You're navigating new terrain. You're understanding what it means to be a heart-centered individual. And depending on which kind of religious domination you follow and how you view the Bible, I've been told, don't follow your heart. Don't follow your heart, because it will lead you astray. But when you pull back the layers and projections that your mind forces on your heart, you realize that the pure divinity of your heart will never lead you astray. It's like a wild horse. I love this analogy, and I'll wind it down here. But, you know, the wild stallion, the bucking bronco. You try to put a freaking saddle on that thing, and it goes boom. No way, Jose. Yeah. All it wants to do is be wild and free and buck and say, you know, F you to the confines of being in a box and sitting at a desk. But through repetition and consistency and reprogramming that subconscious mind, slowly that horse goes to go, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm still resisting you, but I see what you're doing. You put that thing in a round pen. You start breaking that horse. And then you throw a saddle on. And finally, when that thing lets you throw a leg over, it's like taking the braid of your hair and connecting it with the soul of that horse.
Like an avatar.
Like an avatar, buddy. And that thing is now your soul companion, best friend, and it will ride with you into the sunset no matter what. And that's our ego, that's our conscious mind, that's the fear, that's the unknown, all of that. When you can finally understand that surrender component, now it's like, okay, what is my massive action plan? What is the outside of that? And then that's the final model of that ashes, is synergy. When we wake up to our unique self and we become illuminated through that enlightenment, once everybody does that, or the vast majority, that'll be the new normal, and it'll be a unique self symphony. It'll be a synergistic symphony of all these illuminated individuals playing and flowing with each other. Nobody's better than anybody else. It's not a hierarchy, it's a holarchy, right? And when we can get to that level of collective consciousness, this world will literally be heaven on earth. Bruce Lipton says, how do we know we're not already in heaven making a mess of it? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, I mean,
this is some great work, yeah.
With that, I think I've said enough, and you know, just start small. Yeah. Start small. Have a huge plan, but reverse engineer it to take the first available step that doesn't cause you that contraction of fear.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna just quickly highlight a couple things there. I love the analogy with bucking bronco, with that wild horse. That's your body, that's your ego, that's all these patterns you're reining in. But once you realize the power that you have in it, it's like, you're right, it's like stepping into a high-powered sports car and realizing, oh, I can control this wherever I want. And it's like, yeah, man, the question is, where do you want to go? Yeah. And that's something that I'm at right now. It's like, right, where do I want to go with this? I know I have this power. I'm not trying to be like egotistical. It's like, I know I have these gifts. It's like, I need to know where where the best suit, or where I feel like I can do really well. Not feel like I can do really well, where they're going to make the most impact. And I love what you said there at the end there. It's like, above all else, just start small. Yeah. Start, if you're like Brody and you're like, hey, I can jump in, I'm going all in. Great. I'm a systematic. I'm the opposite. I'm systematic. I'm like, okay, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to commit. I will. When I commit, I'm going to commit. Okay, but I'm going to start with this. I'm going to start by waking up earlier. Right? Do that for 2 weeks, a month. And then do this. And then do the next little thing that maybe just to start that process of change. Because, like you said, it's all there for us. It's all there for us, and when we all start doing that and realizing that we all have these like really amazing things, and then the other person that you don't agree with has some amazing gifts, and again, it's a reminder myself too, this person that you don't agree with has some amazing gifts, and that maybe you're butting heads with, and I've been there, even recently where I'm butting heads, but it's like, right, they have some amazing gifts. I just have to recognize that we're not communicating right. Or their gifts are different than my gifts, and we don't have to be the same. We're not the same, and it's okay, right? I don't have to compete because they're totally different. Right, so it's just a reminder for myself and everybody else. It's like, that doesn't mean you're competing. And when you start trying to really recognize that everybody has those gifts, it just makes the world, it just makes your life, I think you're going to have those ups and downs, but it just makes it a little smoother. Right, especially when it's conflicting with other people. So
one thing I realized last night. I went to that workshop with my friend Tori. I went out to the hot pools with some of the guys from men's group, and I realized that I am a wild man in a tame society. I'm not meant to live in captivity. I'm meant to let my hair down, run naked in the woods and scream at the moon, and beat my chest and chop logs and breathe like hell and jump in cold water. And that's me in my highest authentic expression of my soul. And when I live that wild man mentality, I feel free. And that freedom allows me creative space to express myself and live my truth.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see what creativity comes from this and how that's going to change the world and how you're going to serve other people in that, because ultimately that's what it's about, is when we get into that, the creativity is great, but when that creativity serves somebody, that's like that next level, and it fills your soul. So I'm excited to see it, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here. Oh no, we hug it out. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to do that. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Please share, because that's what helps this podcast grow and be able to reach more people. And why wouldn't you want to share something like that with somebody if you really enjoyed it? If you haven't yet, I would also encourage you to go to lifepurposely.ca. My wonderful wife, Emily, sends out weekly content to help you improve your life and to think differently and to make wonderful changes that can impact your life forever. So thank you again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode.